To understand one of the reasons that close positional fighting is not happening in 3.22.1 master modes, try to spot the difference between these clips. Did you see it? If so, awesome. If not, let's make sure you understand what I mean by positional combat in Star Citizen, because it is different than what people say positional combat for in traditional flight. Positional combat is all about orbiting your opponent and using angles while close enough to ensure that you're rotating at your maximum speed while forcing them to rotate at speeds that are slower than yours, which allow you to get behind them, on top of them, and land extremely rewarding shots that feel amazing by hitting them when they can't hit you or when they can't even see you on their screen. This is the pinnacle of Star Citizen combat, and it's a wonderful feeling, but most people have noticed that this is not happening in 3.22.1, even though it was happening in the previous iteration, 3.22, and it was also happening in the live model. As a result, 3.22.1 has been critiqued as a return towards space turreting kind of aim races. Now, to explain why, let's return to those clips. Those two clips demonstrate the differences in how thrust can be combined in live and in master modes 3.22.1. Now, you've probably heard of bicording and tricording, which simply is just adding different thrust directions together to get a total that is more than any one of those thrusts individually. This is possible in live, but it was also possible in 3.22 master modes due to a bug. That bug has been fixed, and in 3.22.1, we no longer have the ability to add thrusts in that way. By the way, I want to give full credit to G-LOK for finding this, explaining it to everybody, drafting up diagrams, and then also Astro Penguin for illustrations I'm going to be using as well. In the live flight model, I can get full side acceleration while also getting full forward acceleration to close distance to a target that's moving sideways. In 3.22.1 master modes, if you try to go full forward and full sideways acceleration at the same time, you're limited so that you're going to get a little less forward and a little less sideways. This means that you can't keep up and close on a target who's moving sideways. To get around this, you have to do some weird manual input where you manually limit your forward strafe so that you can get the full benefit of the sideways accelerations while still getting some forward, but not all of it. This means it's possible to close on someone who's kiting you completely sideways. It's just that you're going to close more slowly than in the live model or in 3.22 master modes. The trouble with this is it's not possible on keyboard. Where analog users can point their thrust with their stick in a direction that they get full sideways and then only some forward, keyboard users can only add full forward and full sideways at the same time equally, which puts them in a position where it is impossible to match someone's sideways movement while also moving towards them. Now, there's no reason to pull out the pitchforks. We should all be fully aware that master modes is in its earliest phases of implementation, and we don't need to riot over this. But I do want to point out that it's a really important and interesting insight as to why people are feeling down on master modes right now and expressing the feeling of simply being nose-to-nose aim races. With a now less intuitive input combination needed to close distance while matching someone's side strafe, which also happens to be impossible on keyboard, many players are reporting that getting close enough for this real, rewarding positional combat is just too costly in terms of boost and also being linear and therefore easier to hit. As a result, people are feeling less rewarded and less incentive to push like this, or are unable to push like this at all. Now, this type of kiting has always been a problem in the game. It's nothing new, but it is important to recognize that the way that the trichord limiter is working is making that kiting more effective and making it harder for people to get the types of fights that are the best in Star Citizen. All that being said, CIG is aware of this concern and is still hashing out the best ways to keep accelerations balanceable while also rewarding, like I said, the best combat that Star Citizen has to offer. If you'd like to weigh in more of this, I've linked G-LOK's Spectrum post in the video description, which also includes a couple of his proposed solutions that are above and beyond simply putting tricording back. While you check that out, I'll be working on part 2 of this video where I explain another mechanic implementation that's preventing these close fights from happening in the current implementation of master modes. But, until then, keep the faith, hold the line, and fly slippery.